Greetings, everybody. Nick DiVirgilio here, and welcome back to my podcast, So You Want to Be a Musician. We're at episode number 6, and the guest for this episode is Mr. Casey Cooper. Casey's story is really very interesting because Casey took a different track on his way to becoming a professional musician, and that's what this podcast is all about. Of course, we're going to keep talking to all the rock stars that we know and love because it's always great to talk to famous people and to get their stories and their opinions on things. But I really wanted to reach out to people in all walks of the musical journey. And Casey just took a different path on getting to where he has gotten to this day. Casey is what you call a YouTuber, a YouTube influencer. Casey's been doing it for about 15 years, give or take. And he came in, you can call him blessed or lucky or however you want to look at it. He came into that world when it was really just getting started. He was in his late teens. He was still in college, just throwing up drum videos. And it grew and bloomed into this massive thing. If you look on Casey's YouTube channel to this very day, he's got 2.7 million subscribers. That is a lot. I know from my own experience trying to build my own YouTube channel, working at Sweetwater and helping Sweetwater build their YouTube channels and all the different social media platforms. It takes a lot of work, a lot of dedication, and a lot of time to get to millions and millions of subscribers. You have to keep putting up content that brings people back over and over again and telling their friends and sharing the videos. There's a whole world of knowledge out there that you have to know what you're doing, and Casey has become an expert at that. What's cool about Casey and his channel is that he's dedicated to growing the drum world, to growing the drum community and everything that goes along with that. If you do check out his channel, there's all kinds of educational material, all kinds of videos on drum gear. He brings in other drummers to share how they do things, to give them some publicity, and also to, share the love. And there's also tons of drum covers because in the early days of the YouTube phenomenon, covers, whether you were a drummer, a guitar player, bass player, whatever, covering other songs just was super popular. And that really grew his channel like crazy. Depending on the song he recorded, you could see that they just have a gargantuan amount of views. Casey is a great family man. He's married and with children, and he's supporting his family just in a different lane of the music business. Not your typical in a rock band, you're a singer-songwriter with a record deal kind of thing. And it's a really interesting story because there's lots of ways to be a professional musician and to make music your life, and that's what this podcast is all about. If you're watching and listening on YouTube, I thank you very much. Subscribe to the channel. If you're checking out the podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, thank you very much. Follow the podcast, and without further ado, my conversation with Casey Cooper. Casey Cooper, thank you so much for having me to your studio, man. This is a great place. You've really built an awesome little setting here.
Well, welcome. It's fun to be down here with talents like yourself.
Thank you.
Welcome to Atlanta.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm here in Atlanta with Mr. Big. I had a day off, and Casey said, "Let's get together and hang."
Picked him up.
Nice, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate you being on my podcast here. I'm trying to just talk to players of all stripes, men, women, full-on professionals, the weekend warriors, about what music means to them and what it means, especially when you get into the professional realm, what it means to make music your life's work and life's passion and how it delves into your regular life. You have a wife and 2 kids. You're a great family man. You have to, juggle that along with the career that you've built for yourself. And I think it's good education, especially for younger folks trying to think about doing this for a living, what music really means to your life, because it's not that easy to make music your life. It's a lot of hard work, and there's pitfalls along the way. So I guess my first question for you is, do you have to play music to be happy? I know it's a huge question, but see if we can start there, and we'll kind of go down the path from that.
Man, that's a very loaded question.
I know.
with a family, because, at the end of the day, like, if someone told me tomorrow, like, you never get to play music again, but you get to, like, keep your family or something like that, like, of course, I'm going to choose family. But, like, at the end of the day, like, music has always just run through me. You know, it's one of those things where, like, some of my oldest memories, or youngest memories, I guess you could say, is being a little kid and listening to, like, Soundgarden in the car with my dad, like, just, like, the ethereal just push to music, to push to grooves and beats. And so, like, I don't know if I would be my happiest without music, you know? Like
Right.
I feel like I'm most fulfilled when I get to experience the joy of music in either listening or performing or viewing or being a part of or even inspiring, like with what I do, a
Yeah.
lot of just like encouraging other people to take up music.
Right. Now, when did you know when you were a kid that you wanted to make music a job? You wanted to sort of go for that as a profession?
Oh man. Well, I guess that was probably high school.
Okay.
I mean, when I was a kid, I loved music, but at that point in time, like I didn't really know that. Like I was like, man, I think I'm gonna try to do music for a living.
Right.
There was always that kind of dream, but for me, I was still thinking about like more normal career paths. Like I want to be an architect or I want to be an engineer. Like that's kind of what I was into until high school when I really started to do music all the time. And I was like, man, I don't know if it's going to be that easy, and of course it wasn't.
Right.
We both know that. But like as someone who thinks things through, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to be successful in music, but like this is what I want, you know, like this is the dream now. Like I've realized that the place I'm happiest is behind a drum set playing music, you know.
Right.
And so in my high school band years, like playing for jazz band and for symphonic band and for filling in for musicals and playing with bands outside. Like literally, I just tried to do music all the time. My senior year, I was in 5 band classes because I had finished out like most of my core classes. So I was like learning other instruments and like just goofing off in music.
Sure. And then, so how did, I'm sure you've told this story before, but so how did the YouTube, that thing sort of take off for you? Was that the catalyst for your career when you started making YouTube videos first? Like
Yes.
the catalyst to where you could make money and pay your bills, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I mean, originally, like my thought process was like, I'm gonna play in a band and I'm probably gonna tour and stuff.
So
And
the typical sort of path.
yeah,
right.
like at that point in time, I didn't really know there was this other path, this
gotcha.
content creation path, because it really hadn't been developed yet. You know, it's
Right.
like,
Yeah, you did come in from like at the beginning stages of that, right?
yeah, I mean, honestly, like my YouTube was one of the very first drumming YouTube channels that started to build and gain a following. But for me, the reason I started YouTube was every night I would finish a gig and someone would come up to me and they'd be like, "Hey, you're so much fun to watch." You know, like the stick tricks or the like just the crazy energy, like the
Sure.
big smiles. Like I look like I'm a fun to watch drummer. You know, I'm not the best drummer, not the most technically talented, but like I look like I'm having fun and I make it look like a fun thing.
Sure.
And so people would say you're fun to watch, and that's when I started thinking like this YouTube thing is all about watching. You know, like especially in the earlier stages that people were uploading stuff that like the audio quality didn't matter as much, the video quality didn't matter as much because everybody was just figuring it out. And it was all about what is happening on camera. And so for me, that's when I started to think, well, let me try and be fun to watch on a visual medium. And it wasn't long doing that it kind of like blew up, you know,
Right.
like I had a few videos that went super viral and concepts just kept hitting and I was working like crazy. Like you never understand how much effort there is in it until you start doing it, especially
Sure.
like I was putting out a video every single day just to like build up the channel, get more opportunities for people to find what I'm doing. And then one day, my first video went like super viral. It was a Skrillex song, Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites, but we did it on marimba, vibraphone, cajon, and bass guitar. And so like, you know, dubstep on those
Right.
instruments, that makes like no sense. But it was really cool. It was really pretty. And it like blew up on Reddit, blew up on YouTube's front page of YouTube, front page of Reddit. And I didn't expect it, but I was like, man, like maybe I can really do this as a career. But at that time, there still wasn't really any money in it. It was just like, now there's opportunity. Now there is views. Now I can start to maybe turn this into something. But like, it was always about the fun to start out.
Sure. And at that point in your life, did you have a relationship? Were you with your current wife, or did you have a girlfriend, or was there personal relationships going on at the same time?
So at that point in time, the video I was talking about, I was dating a girl who I was going to college with at Georgia State. So I was in Georgia State at that point. It was right after my freshman year that I started posting videos all the time, and it was in my sophomore year that the first video went viral, early 2012, I want to say. And we were just having fun making videos, and she was in the percussion suite there, so we were able to use the practice studio at night, like to rehearse and to play these videos in. And so at that point in time, like it was all music. It was all like, and my girlfriend at the time was involved in it, so it wasn't hard to be like, I'm doing music, I'm making videos all the time. Like there's nothing else. It's like, this is the career, this is the trajectory I'm trying to go on. And
then you finished your college career too, right? You went through all 4 years of school and did all that stuff, yeah.
I went through 4 years. I actually was there for a fifth year. Okay. I played in all the band programs. I don't recommend this because, it's nice to graduate and get the piece of paper, but like I never actually graduated. I took classes the first couple of years, and then after that, I just played in the band.
Okay.
So like, it was experiential learning. It was like a fun place to do something I loved and meet people and interact and grow as a musician. And like a lot of it, like my career took off. Like I didn't need a piece of paper to tell me that I can do what I'm already doing, but I wish that I would have gotten the piece of paper because it's nice to have, especially for the, student loans and all that fun stuff. But it was in 2014 that I met my wife, who I've been married to for coming up on 8 years now.
Nice.
So,
congrats on that.
Thank you.
Got 2 beautiful kids. So you found your passion for sure.
Yeah.
So along that way, especially in the beginning times, were there any pitfalls you found in doing this, in trying to pursue that passion?
Well, I mean, the first pitfall would have been the fact that just because I was getting views on YouTube didn't mean I was actually bringing in any income.
Okay.
So that, it's hard to do music for a living if you're not making any money. That's one of the reasons that being in college through that process and like still being in that phase of life made it a little bit different than, say if I had a family and kids and like I had a mortgage and I had to like pay those bills, like I was living off of, Hope grants and student loans and like student housing and that kind of thing. Sure. So in a way, like you beat the system a little bit when you don't have a whole bunch of bills going against you at that point in time. But for me, that was the biggest thing to cross was how do you turn these views into income? And in the early stages, it was a lot harder. Nowadays, there's a lot more openness in the market. There's brands are more willing to work with content creators, and YouTube has worked on the monetization process, and there's ways to get through all of that. Outside of that, like it's really the cross between doing it for fun and doing it for a business. And I talk about this all the time when someone asks me like, hey, I want to start doing YouTube videos and I want to make money and I want to make it a career. Like, what should I do? And I'm like, do it because you love it. Like the minute that you are doing it just to be famous or just to make money, and you don't love it that much, but you think this is how you're going to achieve that, like you're going to burn out and you're going to fail. And maybe there's a couple of people that have beaten that philosophy and done something they truly didn't enjoy and love and still found success. But like everybody I've talked to and my experience is like, if you aren't loving it and you aren't doing it because you enjoy it, like you're never going to make it anywhere in it.
Sure. Well, and it's that love that keeps you going too, right? I mean, that's the passion that keeps the fire burning. At least it is for me and all these years that I've been doing it. At that point, after you kind of found the passion, things are starting to blow up. What was the next step in your career? To get to the next level, what did you have to do to get to that next level?
Well, the next level was finding conversions from views to actual revenue, because I could have just done videos to get views all day long, and like that's all fine and dandy. And if the ultimate goal was fame or the ultimate goal was, getting myself out there and I wanted to work a different job and just do that on the side, like then that would have been perfect, you know. But maybe even would have had more subscribers and more viewers and stuff, because when you were doing content just because you love it and just to provide something awesome for people, and there's no like, I really need to make money on the side here, I really need to turn this into revenue, like, I think the money side of things is what complicates it, you know.
I get you.
And so for me, like, the next phase was like, how can I continue to do this in a honest and like in a way that like people would respect? Because, you know, you get like, once you start getting views and opportunity in the world, you get the emails that are like, hey, show off this product, we'll pay you to show off this product. And like, I never wanted to be the guy that was like showing off absolute garbage, you know, like, I wanted to keep my integrity, you know. Sure. I wanted to showcase products that I enjoy and play music and drums, and like, I still wanted to be me. And so that was the next level, was like finding products that I actually believed in and companies that wanted cool content and unique and interesting educational content, and finding the connections to open those doors. Because YouTube never, because of copyright, YouTube never became it was never like a bank, you know. It was never like, hey, I can depend on YouTube for money. If you did anything other than like drums with copyrighted material in them, if you were able to find a niche that was like more monetizable content, which there are a lot of drummers that have done that, myself included, I've found content that is monetizable.
Right.
But the bread and butter of what I started out doing that got all the views and got a lot of the attention was videos that don't actually bring me any income. And
right, because we were doing drum covers, right?
Yeah,
drum covers. Playing along to other people's music.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't get money.
And
as cool as it is, you can't make money off of that.
For sure. And that's that difficult pitfall of like doing it just for fun and like doing it because I want to. Like, I loved drum covers. I enjoyed doing them. Like, and I was getting lots of hits and views and subscribers and comments and stuff because people were looking for that. But at the same time, that wasn't bringing any income. So like, you know, can't live off nothing. Now I'm married. Now, right after I got married, we got pregnant with our first kid. So it's like, now I got to step up. Now we got to do something really different here and actually bring home, you know, income.
So what was that? And maybe pressure's the wrong word, but what was that pressure like now that you were married, had a baby on the way, and having to figure out this world that you've built for yourself? What did that feel like?
I mean, in some ways, like, I enjoy the drive. Like, I'm a determined individual. I am a driven person. Like, I will find a way to succeed. Like, whatever situation you put me in, I'm not going to give up, you know? Like, I'm not going to, like, I will battle through it and I'll learn something from it, you know? And so for me, that was diversifying the way that I approach things. Like, a lot of times, like, oh, hey, well, the content is providing a good bit here, but I need to supplement a little bit. So now, like, you know, teaching some lessons, or you know, tracking this, or opening this studio and then being able to rent out the studio if I needed to get to that point, or playing drums, remote tracking. You know, like, there were a lot of varying sources of income that I could pull from because I continued to expand my skill set and the opportunities that I had. And I will say, like, you know, it's never been like an easy road where it's just like, you know, you wake up in the morning and you know you're set for the next 20 years. Like, that's not it. And I think most people will find that in the field of music, like, you're probably not going to be living in those shoes unless you're one of it's kind of like an athlete, you know, like the very, 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 very best who were at the right place at the right time and did the right thing. Like, they end up on a pro team and then they make millions of dollars. But most of us musicians, like, you know, we make money that we can get by with, and we do what we love, but you're never going to be like necessarily rolling around in millions of dollars just from like playing drums, you know, unless you happen to be in the Beatles or something. Like,
there's only a few of those bands and gigs around, right?
Yeah, so I think coming to terms with a level of what makes you happy is like the biggest thing. And you were asking that at the beginning, like, you know, is playing music, can you be happy without it? Like, for me, I enjoy creating content. I enjoy playing the drums. I enjoy like trying to inspire people. I want to make people excited about music. I want to make people excited about content. So for me, even though I'm not driving a Rolls Royce and doing that, like not that I would want a Rolls Royce anyway, but you know what I'm saying? Like
Totally.
I'm not a millionaire, but I'm doing what I love and I'm supporting my family. And, there have been times where it's been really great. And there have been times like, during COVID where in some ways I was set up for success, but in other ways, some of my favorite and most, like the things that I made the most revenue from, like travel events and gigs and like all that kind of got cut off. So then you're like, thankfully I'm set up because I can do stuff from home and I have the studio. But at the same time, like that just changed the way that the budget has to work and the way that the revenue comes in. You have to get more creative and do different things.
So how has your wife, obviously you guys are great partners, you're together, you have a family. How has that relationship gone over the years? Seeing you work hard, having to bust your butt, making this stuff happen and diversify your life. For your wife, if you can answer this question because she's not in the room here, maybe you can just a little bit on it. What's it been like for her to be your partner?
I think you have to have a different mindset to be married to someone who is an independent contractor, musician, that you just have to be open to the fact that like things are going to change and be very flexible. And she has definitely had to be trusting, especially since like I like to invest the money that comes in, like, and not, I don't mean investing in like stocks, but like like I've made great checks throughout my career, and I've had the blessing of being able to make good money and do, but like I haven't bankrolled that money. I don't have like a huge savings account that like I just put money in through the years from making. This is like creating, investing in gear, buying cameras, buying equipment, building a studio, like all the money that has been excess in a way has been invested back into my craft to continue to level it up and do more and enjoy what I'm doing. So from that perspective, like you have to look at it as a long game. You have to look at it as a continued improvement on what you're doing. And for her, like she just she has had to be okay with the fact that like, we're not driving super nice cars or like, instead of putting $30,000 into the next car upgrade or something, that $30,000 goes into cameras. It's like that's a big difference.
Sure.
And it's hard to fathom that unless you understand the value of the lifestyle. And by lifestyle I don't mean nice cars and like expensive things, except for the ability to like we've enjoyed the flexibility and she's enjoyed the flexibility of this lifestyle that we've had where it's like, oh hey, independent contractor and we can do this when we want and you can work when you want to and you can work at night and being a musician, like there's been a lot of pros to that,
right,
that also come with added stressors or come with added like difficulties that you have to be okay with. It's like it's a pros and cons kind of thing because
totally.
Having a salaried 9-to-5 job is a very different lifestyle, but at the same time there's lots of pros to that as well. So I think it's more of an adventure, like there's a lot more of like, you don't really know what's coming around the next turn because YouTube could shut down tomorrow if it wanted to.
Sure. And
all of a sudden your whole career that you've built, like I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not saying don't bet on YouTube, but like at the same time, like
it's a possibility.
It could, YouTube could decide like we're charging everybody and then no one watches your content anymore and no one sponsors your content. And like, so there's a bit of an adventure to it. And thankfully my wife, Hannah, is an adventurous person. Nice.
And you got 2 kids and I mean, they're really young still, but they see what you do and they look up to dad. They want to, what do they think about it? Even at their young age.
Yeah, so I mean, my son, originally I thought he was going to be a drummer. I got him a little Roadshow Junior kit, and he loved to bang on it, but he's expanded his musical horizons, and now he wants to be a real musician, is what... Oh. That's not how he says it, but you know the joke. Yeah. He wants to play piano or guitar, he still like bangs around on the drums. I think my daughter might actually be the drummer. This morning we were on 2 e-kits just like playing, and she was like playing and drum soloing and pointing at me when it was my turn to go. Nice. And certainly a 4-year-old, like not like she's a prodigy or anything. And I believe in letting them explore and not necessarily like forcing them. Like at this young age I haven't been like sit down and practice for the next 3 hours, which some of the best musicians, that's I think how they grew up. So like maybe everybody has their own way of doing it.
Right.
But I was always like, when I grew up, if my parents let me do my thing, they weren't.
Right.
They weren't in my face about it, and so I love the way that I turned out. I'm not the best drummer in the world by no means. I can't like keep up with guys like yourself, but at the same time, I love I fill my gigs, and I enjoy what I do. So the kids, like the funniest thing that my son, he's always talking about YouTube, because that's what kids do, and he's like, he wants to make videos like Daddy, and he wants to make sure his videos are on YouTube and like see if it gets views and stuff. And I'm like trying to juggle this world of like, I don't want to lie to him, but at the same time, like I don't want to just put his stuff out on YouTube for random people to like, it's like a 7-year-old kid just like messing around on a keyboard or with a microphone. It's like, it's not necessarily something that, like, it's a home video. It's not a YouTube video. So it's like, I love his passion and his interest in it, and same with my daughter. Like, they both seem to love music. They like to sing. I hope they get my wife's voice, because she's a singer and I am not. So I'm not the drumming singer like yourself, my friend.
Well, can't all do everything. I've been singing since I was 4 years old, so it's part of me.
Yeah,
I love doing it. So, man, this is all great info, and I appreciate you, being open to talk about all this kind of stuff. So, thank you for that. Now, just a couple more little questions. Being in this world that you're in, putting yourself out there to the public with millions of followers and all that kind of stuff, you get some negative feedback. I'm sure we all do, because we're putting ourselves out there. And there's a lot of people out there. The internet is such a weird space where people just feel the freedom to just say whatever they want, and they're just invisible.
Yeah.
Right? They can, that kind of stuff. So, how do you cope with negative comments on your videos? And do you just whatever? Because sometimes, and I don't mean to step on your answer. Sometimes I ignore most of it, but there are some times where you kind of something hits home and you go like, why would they say it? So do you ever get that feeling at all in this world that you're in?
I would say earlier on, I probably dealt with it a little bit more than I do now, in regards to like maybe something hitting home a little bit. But really, like, I think I've just come to understand who I am and what I am, and like appreciate myself for who I am, and I think that's important to anybody for anything.
Totally.
But at the same time, like, it's also like coming into humility, because there were times in my career where I wouldn't say I've ever been like super prideful or, like anything of that nature. But at the same time, you start building this YouTube thing and getting all these views and like getting these cool opportunities. Like, you can start thinking like, hey, I'm pretty cool. This is pretty cool, and like I've always kind of fought against that in a way. And I think I really learned to just understand, like, first off, like, I'm not different than I used to be. Like, I'm no better or more important than I've ever been. Like, I'm just a guy who likes to play the drums, And for me, especially dealing with the fact that, like, I'm not the most technical player on the planet. Like, I know that I can do a good job at pretty much anything that's put in front of me. But at the same time, like, that doesn't mean diddly squat, Like, there's a guy on the bus that's only plays drums once a week that, he doesn't get to do this for a career that can play circles around me. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, it just, you understanding the fact that, like, everybody's going to have an opinion, and as long as you do you and you try to do the best that you can do and like, be positive. Like, I want to be positive. So, like, the negative comments don't necessarily hurt me. It's more so just unfortunate that there's negativity surrounding something that's just so fun,
Sure.
Like, sometimes I'll respond and I'll just be like, hey, I get it, but I'm just want to make people smile, want to make people play drums. So if you don't like it, like, you don't really have to watch this video. You don't really have to leave a comment.
You do have an option.
I haven't forced you to be a part of any of this. I'm really sorry that it bothers you that this is a thing, but for a lot of people, they like it,
Right.
And so I think it's really just about kind of blocking out its power over you.
Sure. That's great info, man. Thank you. Well, so to finish this off, what's next in Casey Cooper's life? Where are you heading with your content, your channel? What's any things that you want to push or plug while we're sitting here?
Yeah, for me, just I really like, I'm trying to get back to the root of of having fun making content. You
Right.
know, like I'm trying to get back to doing content because I really want to do content, and not because there's a necessity to create content. You know, like I would love to get back to the place where like I could do content without thinking so much about the results. And it's not about the results for me, because I've always said, like, you know, if one person enjoyed this video and I enjoyed making it, then that's great, you know, like, and honestly, at the end of the day, if there's no income involved and it's not like important to like meet a certain logistical or criteria or analytic or whatever, like, you know, then it is great. But in the world of this being like my content, my YouTube channel being the revenue stream, it is so much more like, hey, you know, we're doing this and we got to make sure it hits this demographic or this market or this analytic, and it loses some of the fun because you know, it's all a business, and I liked when I could go downstairs to a drum set up and just sit down and play to a song and send it out for people to enjoy, you know, and it's not really that anymore. And in a way, that's great. I've learned a lot, and I enjoy what I like. I enjoy the production of content. I enjoy trying to create content that educates people, that showcases products, that helps, because like me showing off a product is not just getting a check. It's not like I'm showing off this product just to get a check. Like I genuinely want to showcase this product because I think that it will help you, or I think that like you might be interested in it, and now you have a better idea of like whether or not you should spend your money on it, or what it is that you should spend your money on, or how like I'm trying to be helpful and educational. So like I feel good about all that, but at the same time, like I don't do a lot of videos just for fun anymore. It's not like a, hey, you know, I'm just going to sit down to this new song and just throw it up on the YouTube, because with family, 2 kids and a wife and work, like, am I going to spend my free time doing more work that is fun, or am I going to spend my free time with my family, you know? And so for the most part, the answer to that question is family, and especially if the work is the exact same thing as the fun, it's just a little bit different of a style, you know? So, hey, I'm going to create another YouTube video today, but this time I'm actually going to do it completely for fun. You know, it's like, well, I don't know. Like, where's the separation? Like, at the end of the day, if I've spent all day editing and doing all this kind of stuff, then it's like, I don't know. You know, try something different.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for this.
Of course.
This is awesome. I think people will learn a lot from hearing your story, and I really appreciate the time and hanging out bringing me to your home and your studio. This has been fantastic.
Well, it's an honor to have you here, sir. I think that you resonate like pure joy to music and to drumming, and that's how I feel too. Like when I come up and play drums with you and we do something together, like I look over and I see you smiling, I see you having a good time, and being inclusive. Because I know you hate when I say this, but like you're a much better drummer than I am technically, but you never make me feel that way. You know, you're always very complimentary back. You're always like, you understand, and I think we flow well together because we both have an appreciation for music and for what it can do for people. And I think like that, you know, that is why I'm excited for this podcast and for all the other people that you're going to talk to, because I think you're going to inspire people, and that's what it's all about.
That's the goal. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, man.
Of course.
Well, there you go. What'd you think of that? I really enjoyed my conversation with Casey. He's a lot of fun to hang out with. He's super knowledgeable. He's still a young man. He's only in his early 30s, so he's got a long way to go. And when I was talking to Casey in this podcast, I was at his old studio when he lived down in Atlanta, Georgia. Casey is now up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, because he's working at Sweetwater, my old digs. And Casey has joined the content team there, teaching the content team how to do it right, because he's really smart in that world. And I think he's going to take the Sweetwater YouTube channel to whole other realms when he's done with it, because he knows what he's doing. All right, thanks again for watching and listening on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, for listening to the podcast on Podbean, Apple, or Spotify. Follow the podcast, and join me again in a couple weeks for another episode of So You Want to Be a Musician. Cheers, everybody.